Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I had a super cute outfit on today. It's been a while since I've like taken a shower. I didn't get to like do anything with my hair. I did put makeup on, so that was a plus. I didn't have time to do anything with it, so I just let it air dry and then it looked just frizzy and gross, but you know, you gotta take a win where you can when you're a mom with limited time and options. But I wore a really cute outfit today. Ran a couple errands with my boys because my mom had the younger kids and I wanted to get a really cute picture when I got home, or even just have it on for this vlog or this video. And my baby boy had a little accident when he was playing with his big brother and smashed his mouth and it started bleeding everywhere, and I didn't know at the time. He was just crying, so I was like consoling him. He had his head up against my chest, and next thing I know I look down and there's blood everywhere, which always freaks me out because I hate how for some reason the mouth, it like bleeds a lot and quickly, so you're like freaking out like, oh my god, like his whole lip is busted open, his mouth is busted open, he's lost a tooth, like who knows what could happen. Thankfully it was just a little cut on his lip and a little slice up in his gum area, but after we cleaned the blood up, everything was okay. We put some ice on it and then he was fine. But I looked down and I was wearing like an all white outfit. I have the joggers on, I had a cute like sweatshirt, my plaid overcoat, my cream colored boots. It was a vibe, it was a look, it was really nice. I looked down and there was blood all over my sweatshirt, blood on him and his pants, and he had cream pants on. So I was like, all right, take everything off immediately, put it in the washer. I really don't want to get it stained, you know, or it to dry on there. So I'm hoping that it all comes out just fine. But I'm really upset because it was a really cute outfit and there's not very many times a week that I actually get the time to pick out an outfit and feel good in it and just, you know, do that whole thing. And I wanted some documentation of it. I did have my son take a picture of us at Target when I was there. The picture did not turn out like I was trying to be like the influencers, how they, you know, take pictures when they're out and about and they always look so cute and stylish, and mine does not turn out the same, y'all. I tried. I just don't know what I'm doing. Like it did not turn out the same. I'll probably still share it. I'll put a little picture of it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. Because the outfit still was really cute, but the way I was posing and the whole vibe, that part was just a little like, I look like an amateur, if you know what I mean. I have now put up 2 videos on my channel this year. It has been a while since I have done YouTube, and I realized I hadn't actually put out a video on YouTube talking to my YouTube fam. The reason why it took me so long to put out a video, I think in my last vlog I talked a little bit about Jade and her situation, but I forgot that a lot of you guys don't follow me on Instagram. So I had been updating Instagram throughout the whole process and I hadn't been filming for YouTube videos. And I guess in my mind I just figured like, well, I've already talked about it, I don't need to talk about it anymore. And it just clicked, like I need to update my YouTube fam because I have, yes, and I'm outside, so of course, if it's not the kids, it's the dogs in the neighborhood that go crazy and bark. I literally can never find anywhere to film that does not have any kind of sound in the background. I just hit over 20,000 subscribers on my channel and I am over the moon. It was a goal of mine to hit that by the end of 2021. I actually hit it the first like week and a half, 2 weeks into 2022, which is still amazing. I feel like I probably would have hit it before that had I actually been putting out more content during the last month of 2021. But again, I will get into the reason why and all of that in just a minute. I am so grateful to you guys for helping me hit this milestone. It is such a big one and it is so cool. And I can't even fathom 20,000 people, which is crazy. I literally can't believe that starting out this channel was just for fun, being a mom, sharing. And then I started sharing more and more, especially since I got pregnant. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Then I can really document everything, not only for me, but I have family members, you know, that live out of the state so that they can watch the videos and be a part of everything. And then it just kind of took on a life of its own. And when it did that, I realized this is what I want to do. And I want this to become my business. and I have been trying to work on that more and more this past year. And this year, one of the goals of mine this year is to really make that my ultimate goal, to be my full-time business, which technically right now it is, because I don't have any other job but to be a mom, which I don't say but, I'm just a mom, because that's not true. The mom job is 24/7. It is hard work. We don't get paid for it. We get paid with kisses and snuggles and every once in a while, you know, somebody acknowledging what we've done. But that is a job in itself. So that, on top of knowing that I want this to become my full-time job to really help my family grow and get to the point where we want to be, and the dreams and the goals that we want, that we've set for ourselves as a family. Hitting 20,000 is getting us closer to that, and I just want to say a huge thank you, because not only are you supporting me, I'm so happy that you feel comfortable with me and able to relate to me, and that I am able to help you guys. I get tons of comments and messages from mamas, especially first-time mamas, saying how much my videos have helped you, you know, be calm throughout the pregnancy or labor, or at least what to expect, and to be more prepared. And I love those. They make me so happy, because that is the point of my channel. So I came inside because I let them all come outside, and then of course they all start screaming and being crazy, and I can't talk. So I'm in a better headspace, at least for today and right now, to be able to do this. Number one thing is that if you've been here, you know that I'm dealing with postpartum depression and anxiety, and in the holidays it gets heightened a whole lot more. There's a lot more of it going on. That was one of the reasons. It became a lot harder for me to vlog and then find time to edit, and then that just made me more frustrated and more overwhelmed on top of everything else. I wanted to be more present with my kids this year, especially for Christmas. There was tons of struggles that I've dealt with in 2021, one thing after another it felt like, and it just felt like the devil was beating us down everywhere we turned. We're still not where we want to be, but I feel like I have way more hope. I feel like I did a lot of, you know, soul searching and praying and getting my relationship back with Jesus. I had planned on doing kind of like, oh, I'm gonna take a break video and kind of share about it then. And I actually filmed a very, very vulnerable video, an emotional video that I thought I was gonna put up, and I haven't, because after it happened, it actually, this whole weight got lifted off of me, and it almost felt like that's what I needed to do, and not necessarily to share it with the whole world, but just to have it out in the open and out of my mind and off of my chest. I'm still, I have the footage, so I feel like maybe one day I'll put it together and share it, because I think that it may help somebody else that's been going through the same thing, or that has gone through the same thing, or maybe, I don't know, y'all. But at the moment, I'm not ready to share it, but I will. A lot of what I'm gonna tell you guys today was in that video. It just wasn't as like raw, because I was literally like sobbing half the time. It was like a horrible day and a horrible morning, and I just pulled my camera out and I just blurted it all out, and so it was a lot. So I won't be like that on this video, but I've had time to process, to think, to meditate, to all of those things. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that God put those things on my heart for a reason, and put that whole like, let me take a break, it was meant to be. I had watched a video from xoxo, and she had talked about another YouTuber who had kind of shared her story, and Milena what she took from that was that she felt like God was pulling her and really tugging at her heart to tell her to take a break for the month of December. And I cried through that whole video watching it, and it was like a sign from God. Like, me watching it in that moment, especially that day where I was already in tears and overwhelmed and stressed, and so many things were going through my mind, and I was like, this is what I need. I need a break. I need to be able to take something off my plate, and I think this is one of the things that needs to be gone for a little bit. So I'm sorry that I left you guys hanging. I have to say, like, after seeing that video and crying my eyes out and then pulling my camera out and vlogging that, it really helped me. It gave me clarity, it gave me hope, all the things that I needed to kind of set my mind on what it needed to be set on, instead of a million things at one time. Before that happened though, it was right before Thanksgiving, I had a meltdown on my Instagram stories and shared how I had been feeling and the postpartum depression and all of these things going on, and I was sobbing. I mean, all of the things. And then 2 days later, my daughter fell playing with her brothers and got hurt, broke her femur bone. And that whole situation was traumatic. Then I took her to the ER, and that whole situation was traumatic. They had to keep us overnight. They had to put a cast on her leg. She didn't need any pins or rods, which was nice, but they did have to put her under to put the cast on, because they said they had, you know, to manipulate her leg, and it would be super painful for her. So just to know that my 2-year-old daughter had to have, you know, surgery, be put under and all of that so early at her age, it was already too much. And when we were waiting for her to come out and to come to, and for the doctor to come and get me and my husband, I was crying then too, and telling him, like, I literally 2 days ago was already at the brink of a mental breakdown, probably already having a mental breakdown, thinking of all these things and overwhelmed and stressed, and now this happens. And then my mind immediately goes to, now what am I gonna do? I am gonna have a baby in a almost full body cast, not a newborn, but a smaller child, a 1-year-old. I have my 2 older boys. My husband works out of town. He was literally getting ready to leave in like 2 days to go out of town for like 2 or 3, or I think it was 3 weeks. How am I going to take them to school? How am I gonna go get groceries? How am I gonna do any of these things? She doesn't fit in a car seat. She can't sit up straight. She has to be carried in a wagon and moved around in a wagon. She doesn't fit in a stroller. I mean, like, all of the things. Like, I'm already overwhelmed, and now this. Like, what else can go wrong, kind of thing. So that was very stressful and overwhelming. It took time to adjust to. And I will say, thankfully, we had to wait 6 weeks for her to be in that cast. They took her in, they did the x-rays. They said I'd been healing really, really well. So they took the cast off 6 weeks later, which now she's had the cast off for almost 2 weeks, I think, or barely. We're probably at like a week and a couple days. She's already doing amazing, you guys. She is learning how to walk with her foot all the way down instead of on her toe. She still limps a lot and she's sore, but they said that's normal. She doesn't need any physical therapy, which is nice, but at the same time, you know, you're like worried, you know, like what? But he said it's because of her age. For one, they heal super fast at this age. Number two, you know, you give them time, they can do it on their own. Let her have her own pace. And I will say that I feel like she has gone pretty quickly. So I'm gonna put in a couple clips of Jade, her whole, if you don't follow me on Instagram, then you wouldn't have seen any of this, because I did share this. I actually didn't share anything about it. It was almost like a secret. I just didn't want to share it, because then I would have to go into, you know, answering all the questions and all of that, and I wasn't emotionally or mentally prepared to go through that, because every single time I thought about it, all I wanted to do was cry. So when I would share pictures of her, I would make sure that, like, you know, her body was cropped out, that it was only her face and things like that, so nobody could see the cast or see anything else. So we had to go through Christmas with that, and my husband being gone and me doing it all by myself, which was very, very hard. So that added to everything else, made it harder on me. Which again, being able to not being worried about, oh my gosh, I don't have any content up, or I didn't have time to edit, and when am I gonna do this and that and the other. that was nice to have that part gone, but it was still, you know, there were still so many other things that I had to do, so I was still overwhelmed and stressed. But once she was getting ready to get her cast off is when I started sharing on Instagram, and that, you know, this is what happened, this is what we're doing today, she's getting her cast off. And then ever since then, I have documented on my stories, you know, all the little milestones. I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking for a second, and I'm gonna go ahead and share all the clips that I've shared on social media so you guys can see the progress. How I'm feeling today, and I know that every day is not like this, and I know every day isn't perfect. Well, today is Sunday. Tomorrow, well actually tonight would be 1 week that she broke her femur bone. Oh no, boo-boo, you okay? But she loves this wagon. This is what we take her in rides in. She loves to lay in it. She likes to sleep in it. But this is what it looks like right now. We go for our checkup in a couple days for them to check the cast. It goes all the way up her chest. You can see it goes all the way up there, and then we have to do like a double diaper thing. There's like a hole right there for her to go potty. But she can't really do much except for lay there, watch videos, and we go for walks and we hold her. This, she'll be in a way better mood. Just take some time. Worn down like crazy. You can see her ear, and there's dog hair all over it. There's a little bit on her chest up here. What are you doing, sissy?
Standing underneath the lights, looking into each other's eyes.
Are you ready to get your cast
Tired
off?
snowflakes are coming down, collapse into water when they hit the ground. I hear the sound of empty streets.
Is it so cold?
Yesterday is gone to sleep, so all that's left is you and me. I can promise you're the only thing I see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream.
They were swinging.
Oh,
voices in the night.
Look, there she's swinging.
Time
She
is
doesn't even have her
running out of
cast on
sight.
anymore.
Lonely wind is passing by, tries to carry all the whispers that it finds.
Well, she finally decided to stand up. I was
Walls are
holding her for a little
listening
bit.
when we talk,
She stopped putting any weight on this leg.
making echoes as we walk.
She's pretty much standing on her own right now.
There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds get caught up in a dream.
Getting your balance back. You just gotta learn how to put your heel down when you walk.
Standing underneath the lights.
We're gonna go over there. We gotta step over that thing
Look
first.
into each other's eyes.
That's grass.
There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that
I'll pick
only
you up and
we
go put
can
you over there.
see. Yesterday there was sun and there was rain. Beauty in the mundane.
Doing it!
And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
Can you try to put your whole foot down? Put it down. There
And
you go. Now take one step.
there's something in the air.
Oh, wow.
And a spark we should never see. Restoring everything within.
Doing so good.
Oh,
Played at the playground by herself. We went down the slide.
dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes.
You're doing it.
Undercover
Yay.
agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond all.
In the woods.
I want baby's in the
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond all.
All right, y'all. Obviously, it's a totally different day. It just got so busy that night that I just couldn't pick the camera up, and then I got tired. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this vlog with just answering some questions that I had received that I can remember off the top of my head. The first thing I will say is having that cast on your child is horrendous because they cannot bend at the waist. Already having a baby that's in diapers, and y'all, that was one of the worst parts, is she had been potty trained, and so having to put on a double diaper, what you do is you put on the regular diaper underneath the cast. So I would have to push the top part underneath, and then around her butt I'd have to flip her over and then push the other part inside the cast around her butt. And then I had to go buy adult diapers and put one on the outside of her, so she had double protection just to make sure that it didn't get into the cast, which would have been horrible. And by the way, we had a couple times where she ended up having a couple blowouts because she has been constipated lately, and I had been giving her Miralax, and y'all, I mean, like 7 times in one day. she had a blowout, and I had to try to stick wipies in my hand up inside the cast to clean the front and the back of it, just praying that I had gotten it all out, because they told us that if anything got in there, of course, with it being humid, dark, all of those things, it can cause infections, and they would have to cut it off of her and start all over again, meaning she would have to go under again and do the whole cast. And I was not, I didn't want my daughter to go through that. I didn't want to have to go through that. So I tried my best to clean her as much as I could, but I could not believe in one day how many times that had happened to us. I was like, what is going on? So that was already a hassle and really hard to go through. Number two, she was stuck being able to not move at all. So she's miserable. She can't move herself anywhere. So I had to pick her up all the time. At the same time, I had a 1-year-old who is a mama's boy and very clingy. He has separation anxiety. So anytime I was holding Jade, then he was crying. She wanted to be sat up a lot, obviously, because she kept having to lay on her back. So sometimes I would flip her to her stomach and let her do like a tummy time. And then I would hold her and I would kind of sit her on my leg. The only good thing, us women have great hips to hold our babies. So even with that cast on and the way that it was formed, I was able to kind of like sit her on my hip. I couldn't hold her for long periods of time, but at least it gave her a chance to be upright. We did have a wagon that we would use to pull her because of how wide the cast was and the way that they had the cast formed. It's so big and bulky that she does not fit in a stroller, and on top of that, because she can't sit up. And number two, she can't fit in a car seat. So they gave us, which you just saw in one of the clips that I shared, when we were leaving the hospital, in the wagon, they showed me how to put on this like seatbelt contraption on her, and either she has to lay sideways on the back seat and be hooked into the seatbelt. The seatbelt actually goes like through the straps and then hooked in. But because I have so many children, and if she's laying in that one seat, it literally takes up 3 seats for one person, and then I have no room for Knox's car seat, for Georgie or Abel. So the van that we're in right now, it doesn't have like a third row, a back seat, but it's big and open. And so we rigged up this thing. I don't even know what to call it, but we rigged up this thing to where she could lay down in the back, and I always made it nice and plush for her, which is, I think, the only reason why she ever fell asleep back there, because my daughter hates car rides. She's always hated car rides since she was a newborn and would scream and cry. But ever since she's had a cast, she now sleeps in the car, and I really think it was just because she was all plushed out. I mean, I had blankets upon blankets and pillows under her. I had her kind of like, you know, sitting up a little bit, and then I'd have to strap her into this thing with like a million buckles, and then they have an extra strap that you strap through the seat belt or to the car to make sure that she's nice and safe. I will get it out in a minute and show you guys exactly what it looks like, but it was definitely, that's another hassle. So when we would go out and about, which did not happen very often, but if I had to do it because I had no other choice and I had nobody else there to help me, I would put baby boy in the carrier, and then I would get her pillows and blankets and put them inside that wagon, and then set her in the wagon with the blanket on top of her. And that way I could pull the wagon around. I couldn't really push a cart and a wagon, but she loves to go shopping just to like get out of the house. And that was another thing that we did a lot while she was in the cast, was if we weren't pulling her in the wagon outside just to get her out, we were taking her to Target or to Walmart and just pulling her around and letting her look at things. She would point at a toy and I would grab it and put it in her lap so she could just look at it and play with it, and then we would keep on moving. She definitely was a trooper when it came to that. She has been healing fantastically. Yesterday we actually took her to her 4-week follow-up appointment since she's had her cast off, and they showed me the x-rays. I'm gonna grab them in a minute so I can show you guys what it looks like, but literally her thigh bone, her femur bone broke completely in half, and so they're kind of like parallel to each other, but they're touching, and that is what the cast is for. It made sure that the bones were together so that when they started fusing, obviously they would fuse together and straight and not, you know, sideways or anything like that. Another reason why she didn't need to have pins and needles in there, because she was only 2 years old, so young. And he did show me how, you know, when the bone lengthens as she gets taller, everything will be fused together. And he said if we took x-rays of her femur bone in like a year or two, we would probably never know that she's ever had a broken bone, because you wouldn't be able to see anywhere or anything left because of the bone fusing together and then lengthening. So that's a good sign. She has been doing amazing, learning how to walk on her own. We still don't have to do any PT, but he did say for us to come back in 3 months, and then that way they can really evaluate whether or not she needs any kind of physical therapy for any reason, if she's still like walking with her foot out for some reason, or if one leg looks longer than the other and maybe they need to do some kind of therapy. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll come to that bridge when we need to, you know, like once the 3 months is up and we come in and see how she's doing. But every once in a while she trips and she falls because she tries to keep up. She wants to go faster and she doesn't move as fast as she used to, at least just for now. So when she does fall, you can tell that mentality is still there, because it'll take her a minute and then she'll look down and be like, oh, my leg hurts, mommy, or oh, my knee, even though she didn't really even fall on that leg or hurt that leg. But I think just remembering a fall and hurting herself like that. I know people are gonna ask, like, how did this happen? And again, y'all, with kids, especially when you have multiple children, but even with just one kid, you cannot keep your child in a bubble. You cannot have your eyes on them 24/7. We have lives. We have to cook dinner. We have to do other things, and that's normal. That's gonna happen. And accidents like this are going to happen, even though this is something that was so traumatic and I don't wish it on anybody, and I wish it would have never happened. I also, part of me feels guilty because I am the parent, and I'm like, why was I not there? Why was I not helping her? Like, what? Why? You know? But at the same time, all it takes is a split second for something to happen to your kid. I mean, even when you're walking with them holding their hand and they trip, and you're there to pick them up, but at the same time, how would you have known that they were about to trip and stop them from tripping? You know what I mean? Like, we can't do that. It's just not gonna happen. And I think it sucked even more for me as a mom, and the guilt as a mom, because she's so young. You know, I thought, okay, you know, I tore my ACL, but I was like 17 years old because I was showing horses and riding horses and doing dumb things that I probably shouldn't have been doing at the time. But I was 17. Even if I was like 12, it's like, you know, you're rough and rowdy, hanging out with your friends, trying to climb a tree or something. But at 2.5 years old, y'all. But the biggest thing is that she has brothers, and they're rough and they like to climb things, and she wants to follow suit. So she wants to climb after them, and obviously she's smaller and she can't, but in her mindset, she can. So I love that about her. I love that she has that motivation and that, like, you know, no fear in a way, you know, like, if they can do it, I can do it too. I love that about my daughter, but at the same time, it scares the living crap out of me. I'm sure I will get hate, and I will get people saying that I'm a horrible parent because I allowed this happen to my kid and whatever else. Half the time, the people that say that don't have children. And if they do, they have one, and that child is living in a bubble or is too young to even get to the point where they're climbing things. You know what? You're not going to hurt my feelings, because I have 4 kids. I've been through it already with my other boys, you know, getting hurt, whether minor cuts to things that are worse, and every time it sucks. It doesn't matter what happens to your kid, every single time they fall, they skin their knee and they cry for you, it hurts your heart no matter what it is. But I will say that of all the things that have happened so far with my kids, this has been the most traumatic. We brought her inside, and I remember her, she wasn't crying, she wasn't going ow, ow, ow. She just looked at me and said, my knee hurts. And I was like, okay. So I laid her down. She had a big cut right above, like on her thigh, right above her knee. And it was a surface scrape, like she had scraped it on the concrete. And so I thought, okay, I need to put some ointment on it, but she kept saying it hurt. So I thought I'll put ice on it afterwards. And I gave her a little bit of Tylenol, and she laid there. She ended up taking a nap, and then she wanted something to eat, but she didn't move. And that's what made me nervous, is I was like, okay, she's not moving her leg, and she's not moving at all. And then about an hour goes by, and she wakes up, and then she started crying a little bit, and she started to whine a little bit and say, it really hurts, mommy, it really hurts. And when I lifted the blanket to look at it, she freaked out, and she was like, no, 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 don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. And so I had asked her, you know, like, wiggle your toes, can you move your toes? And she could do all of those things, but she wouldn't stand on it. She wouldn't, it was like kind of bent the way she was laying on her side on the couch. She wouldn't make it straight. She wouldn't let me touch it. And I was like, all right. And then about an hour after that, I checked on her again, and it had swelled up about 3 or 4 times the size. And that's when I knew something is really wrong. Because again, from me having my knee, tearing my ACL, I remember how it blew up super fast, and it blew up humongous, you know, like that. So I knew something was wrong. I had called my husband. He had left to go to academy with the boys, and it was late at night. Not late, but like 6 o'clock. And I called him back and I said, I have to take her to the ER. I don't know what's wrong, but there's something seriously wrong. And I don't want to wait any longer, you know, because if it is really wrong, like you don't want to wait to see if, you know, it was just a bruise or whatever. So he comes home, and of course she's crying because she doesn't want me to pick her up. And I laid her down in the back seat because I was like, I know if I put her in the car seat, she's going to scream if anything is wrong with it. Because again, my mentality, I remember that feeling with my knee and how it felt so unstable. And if it was like gonna dangle or anything from sitting, I would have been in excruciating pain. So I already knew. And she was fine. I gave her my phone to like watch little shows on there. We got to the hospital, and I brought a bunch of blankets and the stroller, and I like filled the stroller with the blankets so that when I laid her down in there, her leg again wasn't dangling. It was like lifted upright, both of her legs. So she was almost like she was laying down. So she was a little more comfortable. Again, you know, didn't want me to pick her up. I take her in and I tell them, you know, this is what happened. And they were amazing. But at the same time, it scared me because they were like, trauma nurse, we need a trauma nurse, you know, and they like come and get my daughter and they take us to this room, and within seconds there's like 8 or 9 doctors and nurses in there. They're all doing all these things. They're asking questions about me. My daughter's crying. They're putting a neck brace on her, and which I get, you know, it was just them being careful, making sure, because obviously they didn't know exactly what happened or what was wrong with her. And I'm crying, and I remember thinking, I'm the mom. I'm supposed to be strong for my baby. Like if I'm strong, then she will see me calm and quiet. But it took everything in me, y'all, to not cry. And at a certain point, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Like I was terrified. She was terrified. We were traumatized, and I just couldn't stop crying. And I tried to, they gave me a mask, so at least part of my face was covered, that she couldn't really see my full reaction. But after a while, you know, they kept asking me questions, and I'm like standing away from her, and I was just like, I just want to get near her. And finally the doctor said, okay, that's enough. Like, come hang, will you come over here and hold her hand? I'm like, yes, please. Let me go see my baby. So I go next to her, I'm holding her hand, and her poor little face, her tears are coming down her face, and I'm holding her hand. I'm saying, it's okay, baby. We're at the doctor's. They're going to help you. Everything's going to be okay. And she kept saying, please don't touch my leg, my knee, my knee, my knee. And I remember just looking in her face and just thinking, I just remember thinking, what is going on in her mind, and how scared she must have been, and how little she was to be going through that. And I tried so hard to be, you know, calm and collected, and I could not do it, y'all. I just started bawling, and I was, you know, like silently bawling my eyes out, and I kept trying to kind of turn my head away from her, but just hold her hand and keep talking to her. And they were trying to get an IV in her arm, so of course she'd start calming down a little bit, and then they'd have to put the IV in, and then she'd cry again, and then they had to put another one in her other arm, and so she'd calm down a little bit, and then they'd have to do that again. And it was just like, the minute she started to feel okay and started to feel like safe, that something like that would happen, and immediately she would go back to that feeling of, I'm scared and why is this happening? And I remember them checking her vitals and, you know, doing all these things, asking me questions again. And eventually the doctor was standing there, and he looked at me and he goes, I will tell you right now, he goes, we're about to get the x-rays done. He said, but I will tell you right now, from what I can see, everything looks great except that is broken. And I said, are you kidding me? And he goes, yeah, it's broken for sure. But they got the x-rays, and yes, it was broken. They took x-rays from her head to toe, and no internal bleeding, you know, none of the other things that they thought might have been happening. They just wanted to rule everything out. And the only thing that was wrong with her was, you know, the scrape on her leg, and her femur was broken. And I remember when he told me that, my heart dropped. I was just like, what? Like, well, now what? You know, like, what is my baby gonna have to go through? And they said what they wanted to do was keep us overnight. They were going to, you know, they had given her pain medicine, y'all, and this girl could still feel everything. Like, I even told them, like, she keeps saying she's in pain, she keeps crying, and they were like, ma'am, we cannot give her any more pain medicine. And I'm like, I mean, I totally understand. I don't want to overdo it either, but how else do we get her comfortable? They did try to give her a little bit of something else. I can't remember what it was, to try to help her. And they said what they're gonna do is put us in a different room to keep us overnight because they want to get us into the OR like right the first thing in the morning, and that they were going to so a nurse was going to come in and set her leg so that if she did fall asleep while she's sleeping, if she, you know, jerks or moves or anything, it doesn't hurt her because everything will, almost like a splint. So that was not fun either, because of course when they're doing that the whole time they're moving her leg, and she was screaming, crying. And y'all, this girl did not go to sleep. With all of the medication in her system, I thought for sure eventually she's gonna be zonked out. The whole night she did not sleep. If she slept, it was like 10 minutes. So I wait till the next morning, you know, and they keep saying, oh, it's gonna be this time, it's gonna be that time, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And I was like, oh my gosh. And because of COVID, I was the only one allowed there. Like, my husband couldn't come and like alleviate me, or nobody else could come in. And I was like, I'm starving. I need to go pee, you know, but I don't want to leave my daughter by herself. It was just a lot. And she kept, you know, saying, it's fine, mommy, everything's fine. But the other thing too is they were super sweet and kind. They had a nurse there. This was at the children's hospital, Texas Children's Hospital. So there was a nurse assigned to her that was like literally only there just for her. So she would bring her like Play-Doh to play with, or she brought her a little doll, and she also got a blanket, like all of these really sweet things just to try to make her feel comfortable, to keep her mind off of it. And I thought that that was really, really sweet and cool. Every single nurse that we came into contact with was amazing, like just amazing. And you know, again, like I said, me as a mom already feeling so much guilt, already feeling like I'm literally the worst mom in the world, and they never made me feel that way, and they always were there for us. It definitely helped that situation. But finally, one of the nurses says, I'm gonna go check to see, because you were supposed to be at this time and obviously it's past that time, I'm gonna go see what's going on. So eventually they start taking us up to pre-op, and then the nurse that was getting her ready for pre-op, she was in there and she had pulled up an app on her phone and was like playing with Jade and helping her with the app and telling us what was going to be happening, you know, and that in a minute we're going to give her a sedative so that she goes to sleep before we even walk her away from you, because they say, you know, they want the parents to be the last thing the child sees. They don't want the child to like say bye to mom and dad and then walk down a hallway by themselves, not by themselves, but you know, and being scared in that situation. So I do remember when they finally did give her the sedative in the IV and it slowly started kicking in, she knew, because she went from just sitting there talking to like, she like immediately she grabbed my arm and looked at me like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I said, it's all right, baby, it's all right, everything's good, you're gonna go night-night for a minute, I'm gonna see you in just a minute. And then you could tell, you know, her eyes were getting real heavy, and she finally started like chilling out, and then she fell asleep and they took her off. I started crying again. They took me into the waiting room where Nick was able to come in and wait with me. And, you know, and then the doctor came in and told us how she was doing after it all was done and what was going to happen next, you know, like, and I just remember sitting there like, what am I going to do? Like I said earlier, I was already at the brink, and now I'm over it. Now I'm on like way past that brink of a mental breakdown, and now I have to keep it together even more, because I have to be able to have the strength to get through these days with all of my children, and now a daughter who has this full cast thing going on, that I have to carry her and lift her and move her, and y'all, it was just a lot. But once she was out and she was done, it took her a long time to wake up. We were, you know, post-op for a long time before she was fully awake. And then they had, you know, a bunch of nurses, a trauma nurse come in to make sure that everything was okay with her, that she could be discharged. I also had to talk to a like social services associate or something over the phone before we could get discharged to go over everything again. You know, they had to put her in the wagon, show me how to use this contraption for the car, how to put it on her, you know, all of those things. It took forever. So we were in the hospital for like 2 days, almost 2 days, because of getting there, staying overnight, doing all of that, and then waiting for her to wake up, getting discharged, like all of that. So it was probably like a day and a half that we were there. So we were all ready to get home. But it was definitely the biggest, it was very hard to get used to, especially when you have other children to take care of, and like figuring out like, how do I do this? And we used to, which like even now, during the day, we usually leave the house. We go, after we take the boys to school, we go to a park at some point, or a playground, and different things. And it's like my life turned into, now I literally have to find ways to keep her happy, because she's constantly feeling like, I mean, I know I would feel ridiculous not being able to move myself, not being able to go from this place to this place. So anything that she wanted, I'm at her beck and call. She was on painkillers and muscle relaxers, and then regular, Tylenol and ibuprofen. And, the painkillers and muscle relaxers were only for like at nighttime before bed, or if she really seemed like she was in pain. But because of all that, y'all, she literally now refuses any medication. It doesn't matter if it's liquid, chewable, whatever it is. If I say it's medication, or if she can taste it and it tastes kind of like medication, she will not take it. So to this day, if she has a cold, she won't take anything at all because of that, which really sucks. But that kind of medicine just it didn't taste good. Even though they try to make it taste good for kids, it just doesn't. But really throughout it is really crazy how much and how resilient kids are, the things that she was learning and the things that she was doing, and really how happy she was. Yes, she was miserable a lot of the time, and she wouldn't sleep a lot at night because she couldn't move. Like, she'd be on her back the whole time, and she'd want to be getting on her stomach or moving to her side. And so I had to wake up a lot of times at night, to help her flip over, or I'd hold her on my stomach. And then at the same time, I'm sleeping with Knox, who co-sleeps with me and breastfeeds, and I'm like flip-flopping between them. So I had like no sleep for months and months with the two of them when this started. And then as time went on, as y'all saw, she started learning how to scoot herself. She started to learn how to pick herself up and stand up. She learned how to hop on it with this cast on, walk or waddle, holding on to things. She couldn't do it without holding on to something. But all of that kind of stuff, it was like crazy to me. But it got to the point where I was like, can you please stop? Like, we're getting so close to getting your cast off. Please don't do anything that could possibly make this go on any longer, because I know you want this off and I want it off. But anyway, y'all, that's pretty much all I can think about. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments and I will try to get to them. All I can say is just that it has been the worst thing ever, but that is one of the biggest reasons why I took a break, and I needed time to just be able to concentrate on my daughter and my other babies to get through this whole situation and through the holidays, dealing with that, and on top of that, my own mental health. We are still looking for a home. We have decided now we want to try to buy one instead of rent, so we're trying to save up money, which is another whole thing on top of that. It just feels like one thing after another is happening. If you believe in prayer, I just ask that you keep us in your prayers, not only for Jade and her recovery, and hope that within 3 months that she is perfectly fine and back to normal, and that she doesn't need anything else for her leg, that we are all safe, but also that we are able to get into the home that is perfect for our family as soon as possible. Because I'm so grateful for where we're living right now, but it's just not ideal, and it makes it harder and harder every day for me as a mom, and it is really causing a lot of stress on me and a lot of just hardships. So I know that God has the perfect home for us out there. I know that it's on His timing, and I just need to be patient and have faith. And I just ask that you guys pray with me for that. So I love you guys so much. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope this was informative at all if you cared where I was or what was going on. I thank you guys for all your prayers already and for your support. Again, like I said, for hitting a big milestone on my channel. It's just amazing. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.
want you close. Maybe hold your hand a little